Welcome to the Build Your Reiki Business podcast. I'm Christian of Standing Stones Healing, founder of the Reiki Business Collective and creator of the Build Your Reiki Business program, sending blessings and best wishes to your Reiki business. Greetings, welcome, and thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Build Your Reiki Business podcast. I'm Christian of Standing Stones Healing and so honored to have you here. On this episode, we are talking about when you can start charging for Reiki. This is a common question that I've seen over the years come up with people asking, when can I start charging for Reiki? And indeed, the answer is, well, whenever you want to. One thing that frequently does come up is this belief that in order to start charging for Reiki, that we need to be a level 2 practitioner at least. Or I even have seen people who delay starting a Reiki business or charging for Reiki until they are at the master level because they believe that in order to have a Reiki business, they need to have attained level 3. And that is simply not true. Actually, you can indeed start charging for Reiki at any level. There is no requirement to be at level 2 in order to start charging for Reiki. This is a common misperception, and so I'm going to say it again. It's true. You do not have to wait until level 2 in order to start charging for Reiki and to have a Reiki business. Now, it's common practice to wait until level 2, and this is really largely a view of the Reiki community is that level 2 is when you can start practicing as a professional and start charging for sessions. And I don't necessarily disagree with that, but because Reiki is largely unregulated, it means that largely there is no requirement to be at any particular level in order to start charging for Reiki. Now, I just want to make sure to throw in here the caveat that Reiki is largely unregulated, which means that largely this is the case. But indeed, we know that regulation is always in the works on the state level and including the local level as well. And so that means you'll always want to check with your state and local regulations and requirements for the practicing of Reiki. But because Reiki is by and large unregulated, indeed, you can start charging for Reiki at level 1. I also want to make sure to mention that this is for the U.S. So I, in my knowledge of Reiki business, focus on the United States because I'll be completely honest, I do not know all of the rules and regulations, how to form business, and anything else that has to do with Reiki business in any other country. So I want to make sure to throw that out there as a disclaimer that anything that I might discuss on the podcast in terms of business really does pertain to a US-based Reiki business. I'm not going to pretend to know anything about business in other countries. So, by and large, Reiki is unregulated in the United States, which means that there's no requirement to have attained a certain level in order to start charging for Reiki. Now, I just heard someone listening on the other end just kind of like sigh and be like, whoa, like, wow, that's interesting to know. And maybe I'll start a Reiki business sooner than I thought because of it. Now, I do want to say that there are real benefits to waiting until you are at level level 2 in order to have a professional Reiki practice and to charge. At Reiki level 2, we have more skills and knowledge at our disposal to assist clients. We have a deeper understanding of and appreciation of Reiki, and have already experienced level 1 and that training, and get our level 2 training and practice. And so the more we progress in our Reiki journey, really the better equipped we are in our Reiki business and in assisting and helping others along their journey. And so it can really be beneficial for a practitioner to wait before charging clients. I want to say that for my own Reiki journey, I actually did not start charging for Reiki until I was past the master level, so after level 3. And I did not start my Reiki business for a few years after I attained level 3. When I commenced my Reiki journey and I started my Reiki training, I did not have in mind that I would be doing so for a Reiki business, to open up a Reiki business. This was actually not part of my thinking in my Reiki training whatsoever. I started Reiki training and went through the 3 levels purely for my own personal and spiritual practice. And so, when in level 3, my teachers were talking about practices for opening up your Reiki business and some suggestions and helpful tips, I listened and paid attention, of course, but also in my mind, I remember distinctly saying, well, I don't need this. This doesn't pertain to me. I'm never going to need this. And this was back in 2014. But, things change. And so for those first couple of years after I finished level 3, I really largely was using Reiki for myself, Reikiing my garden, Reikiing my home, and was not using Reiki on clients. But that was my experience, and yours indeed may be very different because our Reiki journey is our own, and it unfolds for us in the way that it is meant to. Which means that if you want to start charging for Reiki at level 1, I personally have no judgment of that. You will find Reiki practitioners who do, and that's okay. That really says more about their comfort level and their beliefs about Reiki than it does about any practitioner who is charging at level 1. And so if you do indeed feel called to start charging for Reiki at level 1, that's absolutely okay. No one can make that judgment for you except you. And Reiki is not judging you. No matter when you start offering Reiki as a paid service, or if you never do, Reiki's not judging you. And so you absolutely can start charging for Reiki at level 1. You may find clients who this is important to them and that they only want to have a practitioner who is level 2 or level 3. I think it's really helpful and important to be open and transparent with clients when they ask and want to know about our training and our level. And I think that it's helpful for us to be open and honest about that. At the same time, oftentimes what really matters more to clients is you and the energy you bring. And so, I've never had a client who asked me what level I was at and never said, are you at the master level? Because I don't want to have a session with you if you're not at the master level. I've never had that experience. Can it happen? Sure. Has it happened to other practitioners? I have heard of it happening. But so often what matters more to a client is how they resonate with you, the energy that you bring, and how you show up. And you absolutely can resonate with someone and bring the energy and show up in a positive way that resonates with a client at level 1. And so there's no judgment if you want to start charging for Reiki at level 1. This is absolutely a possibility. It also may not resonate with you, and you may want to wait, and that's okay too. I encourage all of us to release judgment of ourselves for whenever it is that we might or might not want to start offering Reiki as a paid service. So remember, Reiki is not judging us, so let's not judge one another in that personal decision. But as far as when can you start charging for Reiki in terms of a business sense, you can start charging for Reiki whenever you want to. And you actually do not need to have a formally filed business in order to start charging for Reiki. And so what that means is that you do not have to register a business with your state. You don't have to register your Reiki business with your state. So for instance, in the form of an LLC, a limited liability company, you don't have to do that before you can start charging. And indeed, as soon as you start charging for Reiki, congratulations, you have a Reiki business. So once you are receiving money for your Reiki services, yes, you do have a Reiki business. Now, what that means is that there are listeners out there who have been charging and are thinking about starting a Reiki business. Well, I'm excited to be the one to tell you, congratulations, you already have a Reiki business. So, well done on that Reiki business that you didn't know you had. Because once you start commencing in business activity, you indeed do have a business. So that means once you start charging for Reiki and receiving money in return, you do have a Reiki business. Now, you might be thinking, well, Christian, I'm just doing this on the side. I'm just, charging my family and friends, and it's only, $10 a session. How is that a Reiki business? But yes, indeed, once you start receiving money for your Reiki services, that is officially a Reiki business. This is called a sole proprietorship, and there is no formal filing necessary in order to run a sole proprietorship. So yes, indeed, congratulations on that Reiki business that you didn't even know you had. I also want to say, as an aside, that if you are charging for Reiki and you didn't realize you had a Reiki business and you didn't think of yourself as a Reiki business owner, according to the IRS, once you hit $400 in earnings from your business activity, the IRS wants to know about that. So just as an aside, if you indeed are earning more $400 or more from your Reiki activity, and you aren't filing that, you aren't noting that on your taxes, just as an FYI, the IRS wants to know about that because the IRS wants their cut. But indeed, you can have a Reiki business, and indeed, you do have a Reiki business once you simply start charging, whatever that amount is, and no matter how frequently it is. And so you can start charging whenever you want, and you can start charging at whatever level you want. So know that no matter where you are on your Reiki business journey, if it feels right for you to start charging, or even if you just want to start experimenting with it, absolutely you can do that. There are no rules against that. That is something that you indeed are allowed to do. Now, I also want to make sure, though, to mention that no matter what level you are offering Reiki at, as a paid service, and no matter how much you are charging, I do just want to make sure to throw out that it is encouraged to have insurance while you are offering Reiki to others, just to protect yourself. Whether you formally have a filed business or not, you can indeed still have issues and liability if someone falls off of your table, gets hurt, trips coming into your office, or if you're offering Reiki in your home, they trip on a rug in your front door, break an arm, or whatever the case might be, you still can have liability. So I just want to note that as an aside as well, to be aware of that too. But indeed, you are free and welcome to start charging for Reiki whenever you like. You know, for some practitioners, this is not anything that they ever want to do or expect to do. I know, I've been there. And now look, holy cow, years later, wow. So some practitioners are not ever going to want to do that, and that's okay. And if it's something that you're considering or thinking about, know that there is no special level that you have to attain. Know that there is no certain number of hours or number of sessions that you need to have under your belt in order to start charging for Reiki or to have a Reiki business. Now, I want to say again that practice does help, that deepening our own Reiki journey does really help us to have a stronger base from which to support clients. And so I'm not saying that I think it's best for everyone to go through Reiki 1 and then just start their own business right away. I don't actually believe that. I do believe that Reiki 1 is best as a self-practice level, and that as we get into the profound practices of level 1, you know, the precepts, for instance, is really all we need for our Reiki journey for a lifetime. And if we never went on and learned the other levels in Reiki, that we would have enough for our whole practice, for our whole life. But I do feel that Reiki 1 is really best to practice and focus on yourself, and to really integrate the teachings and to ingrain Reiki into your own life, because this is a great base from which to support clients and to offer Reiki as a paid service. But again, there's no rule, there's no requirement. You could finish your Reiki level 1 today and start offering Reiki as a paid service tomorrow. Is that necessarily the best way to do it? Well, again, Reiki's not judging you, so you absolutely could do that. And there's no regulation against it. And it can, I do believe, be very helpful for us to really ingrain those practices first. But no matter when you start charging for Reiki, once you do have a Reiki business. So whether you might purposefully be starting a Reiki business, or accidentally you already have a Reiki business. Once you're charging, you are indeed a Reiki business owner. So I'm sending you so many blessings and best wishes to your Reiki business. As far as this idea of having a sole proprietorship, I encourage you to get the free Reiki business article, DBA LLC OMG. It's my article on the different business types. And so if you're hearing me say sole proprietorship, Christian, what is that? I don't even know what that is. I talk all about that in that article, and it will really help to explain exactly what that means and how indeed you can have a Reiki business without filing a business formally in your state. You can learn more about that Reiki Biz Kit with that free article at standingstoneshealing.com/Reiki Biz Kit. Well, no matter where you are on your Reiki business journey, whether you are charging or not charging, whether you're charging a lot or a little, whether you're charging 1 million people or 2 people, I'm sending you lots of blessings and best wishes for your Reiki business. Thanks for tuning in to the Build Your Reiki Business podcast. Please like, share, subscribe, and send to a friend. Learn more about the Build Your Reiki Business program at standingstoneshealing.com/build, sending blessings and best wishes to your Reiki business.